First Contact's Price. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the TNS Harbinger, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing the devastation below. New Mars colony, or what remained of it, burned in patches across its surface like a constellation of funeral pyres. The attack had come without warning, without declaration, without mercy. Status report, she demanded, her voice steady despite the rage building in her chest. Lieutenant Rivera's fingers danced across his console. No survivors detected in the primary settlement, Commander. Environmental systems are completely destroyed. The colony's defense grid never even activated. Whatever hit them, it went straight through their shields like they weren't even there. The bridge fell silent. 6,000 colonists, families, children, all gone in what appeared to be minutes. Sarah's hands gripped the railing tighter, her knuckles white with tension. They'd known first contact with an advanced civilization would come eventually, but not like this. Never like this. "Ma'am," called out Sensor Officer Patel, her voice tight with urgency. "Energy signature detected at the edge of the system. It matches the residual patterns from the colony attack." Sarah straightened, her decision already made. Battle stations. All hands prepare for combat. They're not getting away with this. The Harbinger's crew moved with practiced efficiency, but Sarah could see the tension in their movements. They were a survey vessel, not a warship. Their weapons were meant for asteroid defense and the occasional pirate, not whatever had just obliterated an entire colony. "Multiple contacts emerging from FTL," Patel announced. "Configuration unknown. 3 vessels, each approximately twice our size." The alien ships appeared on the main display, sleek, predatory shapes that seemed to absorb the starlight rather than reflect it. Their design spoke of centuries, perhaps millennia of advancement beyond human technology. But Sarah hadn't earned her command by backing down from impossible odds. "Open a channel," she ordered. "All frequencies." Static filled the bridge speakers, then resolved into a sound that made several crew members wince. A high, harmonious tone that seemed to bypass their ears and resonate directly in their skulls. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the Terran naval ship Harbinger. You have attacked and destroyed a civilian colony without provocation. Explain yourselves." The response came in perfect, emotionless English. "We are the Validary. Your species has been deemed unworthy of continued expansion. This is not an attack. This is pest control." Sarah's jaw clenched. "Patel, analysis of their weapons systems. Energy readings are off the charts, Commander. Whatever they used on the colony, it's like nothing in our database. Our shields might as well be tissue paper. Then we don't give them a chance to use it." Sarah's mind raced through options, discarding one after another, until engineering. "Can we modify our survey drones to carry warheads?" Chief Engineer Thompson's voice crackled over the comm. "The mining charges? Yes, ma'am, but they're not designed for." "Do it." "Navigation. Plot me a course that keeps us in the system's debris field. Weapons. Prepare to launch every drone we've got on my mark." The bridge crew worked frantically as the Validary ships moved into attack formation. They were taking their time, Sarah realized. They didn't consider the Harbinger a threat. That would be their mistake. "First volley ready," Thompson reported. "But Commander, these are mining charges. They're meant to break up asteroids, not—" "That's exactly what we need," Sarah interrupted. "Helm full thrust on my mark. Let's show these bastards that humanity doesn't roll over and die." The Validary ships launched their first attack, a beam of impossibly pure light that carved through space where the Harbinger had been moments before. But Sarah had already ordered evasive maneuvers, using the debris field from the colony's orbital facilities as cover. "Launch drones, dispersed pattern. Follow up with everything we've got in the torpedo tubes." The modified survey drones shot out from the Harbinger's launch bays, their small profiles making them nearly invisible among the debris. The Validary ignored them, focusing their weapons on the larger ship. They didn't realize the threat until it was too late. The mining charges weren't designed as weapons, but they were designed to break apart the hardest materials humans had ever encountered. When they detonated against the Validary ship's hulls, they didn't cause conventional explosion damage. Instead, they created precise, devastating resonance waves that shattered the alien vessel's molecular bonds. The first Validary ship split apart like a crystal struck by a tuning fork. The second spun out of control as its rear section disintegrated. The third managed to bring its weapons to bear on the Harbinger, but Sarah had anticipated this. All power to forward shields. Braced for impact. The alien weapon struck their shields head-on. Warning klaxons blared as systems overloaded, but the Harbinger held together long enough to launch its final volley. The third Validary ship joined its companions in ruin. As the debris settled, Sarah allowed herself a moment to breathe. Damage report. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 5. Shields are gone. Weapon systems offline. But we're alive, Commander. Sarah nodded grimly. Get me a secure channel to command. They need to know what we're dealing with. She looked at the scattered remains of the Validary ships. And they need to know that these bastards can be killed. The battle was over, but Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The Validary had made a critical error in their first contact with humanity. They'd assumed humans would be easy prey, that they would retreat in the face of superior technology. They were wrong. Humans didn't retreat. They adapted. They improvised. And then they reloaded. As the Harbinger limped away from the battlefield, Sarah began composing her report. The Validary would be back, and next time, humanity would be ready for them. They had to be. The alternative was extinction. The breaking point. Major James Torres watched the evacuation shuttle streak across New Eden's purple sky, each one carrying hundreds of civilians to the relative safety of the underground bunkers. The colony's defense force had been preparing for this moment ever since the Harbinger's encounter with the Validary 3 months ago, but preparation could only count for so much against an enemy that could tear through shields like paper. Status on the orbital defense grid, he asked, eyes fixed on the tactical display inside the command bunker. Lieutenant Park's voice was tight with tension. All satellites are charged and ready, sir, but based on the Harbinger data, they won't do much more than scratch the Validary ships. They don't need to destroy them, Torres replied. They just need to buy us time. He turned to face the gathered officers. Listen up. We got 30,000 civilians going underground, and we're the only thing standing between them and extinction. Command's sending reinforcements, but we need to hold out for at least 72 hours. The bunker sensors suddenly blared to life. Multiple signatures entering the system, Park announced. Validary configuration confirmed. 5 ships, larger than the ones from the Harbinger encounter. Torres nodded grimly. They're learning. Initiate Protocol Phoenix. Throughout the colony, carefully concealed defense systems powered up. They weren't conventional weapons. Those had proven useless against Validary shields. Instead, they were the product of 3 months of desperate innovation, cobbled together from mining equipment, industrial tools, and pure human ingenuity. Sir, called out Captain Sarah Wong from the engineering station. The resonance transmitters are online, but we've never tested them at full power. If the frequencies aren't perfectly calibrated, then we'll adjust on the fly. Torres interrupted. We don't have the luxury of perfect solutions anymore. The first Validary ship entered orbit, its dark hull seeming to drink in the light of New Eden's sun. Torres watched as it charged its main weapon, the same terrible device that had turned New Mars into a graveyard. Activate countermeasures. All stations, execute on my mark. The Validary weapon fired, a beam of pure destruction lancing down toward the colony. But this time, humanity wasn't defenseless. Dozens of resonance transmitters activated simultaneously, filling the air with carefully calculated frequencies that matched the harmonics of the Validary energy weapon. The beam hit the invisible wall of sound and split apart like light through a prism, Its devastating energy dispersed across the upper atmosphere in a spectacular display of color. "It worked," Wang exclaimed, then immediately began adjusting controls. "But the transmitters are already showing strain. We won't be able to maintain this for long." Torres was already moving to the next phase. Launch the mining drones. Pattern Delta. Hundreds of automated mining drones rose from hidden bunkers across the colony's surface. They were simple machines designed to extract minerals from New Eden's crust, but they'd been modified with one crucial addition: quantum entanglement sensors salvaged from research labs. The Validary ship's advanced stealth technology meant nothing against quantum entanglement. The drones swarmed toward their targets, each carrying a payload of refined mining explosives, calibrated to the exact frequency that had proven so effective during a Harbinger encounter. "Validary ships are launching interceptors," Park reported. "Some kind of autonomous combat units." The alien fighters were beautiful and deadly, moving with impossible grace as they cut through the first wave of mining drones. But for every drone they destroyed, two more took its place. This wasn't a battle of quality versus quality. It was quality versus overwhelming quantity. Second wave. Launch. Torres ordered. Engineering. Divert power to the northern transmitter array. The battle above New Eden became a chaos of light and shadow. Validary weapons carved through space, while human mining drones exploded in carefully calculated patterns, their detonations creating rippling waves of destructive resonance that slowly but surely began to tear the alien ships apart. But the Validary weren't finished. One of their ships, already showing signs of damage, dove straight toward the colony's main transmitter array. "They're going to ram us," Wang shouted. "Impact in 30 seconds. Torres keyed his emergency comm. "All personnel, clear the northern sector. Initiate Protocol Omega." The Validary ship screamed toward the surface, its hull glowing with atmospheric entry. 10 seconds from impact, emergency charges detonated around the transmitter array, dropping it and several square kilometers of ground into a massive sinkhole, a last resort defense mechanism built into the colony's foundation. The alien ship struck empty air, its momentum carrying it past the colony's vital infrastructure and into the uninhabited desert beyond. The impact shook the entire continent, but the colony's core remained intact. "Status report," Torres demanded. "3 Validary ships destroyed," Park responded. "1 critically damaged and retreating. The 5th is maintaining high orbit, but its weapon systems appear to be offline." Torres allowed himself a small smile. "Send word to all stations, hold position and prepare for another wave. They'll be back, and they'll have adapted to our tricks. We need to be ready." He looked at the tactical display, where the quantum sensors were tracking the retreating Validary vessels. They'd won this round, but victory had come at a steep price. Half their defensive capabilities were destroyed or offline, and they still had 2.5 days to hold out before reinforcements arrived. But they'd proven something crucial. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its technology or its weapons. It was its ability to take whatever it had on hand and turn it into something the enemy never expected. As his officers worked to reorganize their defenses, Torres thought about the civilians huddled in the bunkers below. They were scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers, ordinary people who'd come to New Eden to build a life among the stars. Now they were on the front lines of a war they never asked for. But if there was one thing humans had proven time and time again, it was that being backed into a corner only made them more dangerous. The Validary thought they were executing a simple extermination campaign. Instead, they were about to learn why humanity had survived every catastrophe its own world had thrown at it. They were about to learn that humans didn't retreat. They reloaded. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Dr. Aisha Patel hadn't slept in 36 hours, but she barely noticed. The holographic display in front of her showed something impossible, something that could change everything about the war with the Validary. Behind her, Grell clicked his mandibles in what she'd learned was a sign of approval. "The resonance patterns are holding. the Validary defector observed, his translated voice carrying an artificial smoothness. "Your species continues to surprise me." Aisha smiled without taking her eyes off the display. "That's what we do best. Though I wouldn't have gotten this far without your insights into Validary tech." She gestured at the experimental device hovering in the containment field. "I still can't believe your people use quantum entanglement as a weapon." "Not as a weapon," Corell corrected. "As a fundamental force. My people learned to manipulate quantum fields before we mastered electricity. It shapes everything we build." He moved closer to the display, his iridescent scales catching the light. "Which is why your approach is so unexpected." The device in the containment field looked crude compared to Validary technology, a combination of human engineering and salvaged alien components. But its effectiveness couldn't be denied. The readings showed it generating the same type of quantum field that made Validary weapons so devastating, but with a crucial difference. "Security breach in Sector 7. The announcement blared through the facility's speakers. "All personnel, battle stations." Aisha's hands flew across the controls, initiating emergency protocols. "They found us." "Corell, my former people are persistent," the alien said grimly, "but they do not understand what you have created here." He moved to another console, his long fingers dancing across the human interface he'd learned to use. "The prototype is ready for field testing." Explosion sounds echoed through the facility. Aisha grabbed the prototype and its control unit, securing them in a reinforced case. "We need to get to the backup lab. If we lose this research, you won't." The voice came from the doorway, where a squad of Special Forces operators had appeared. Their leader, Captain Maya Rodriguez of Ghost Squad, stepped forward. "We'll get you there, both of you." The group moved swiftly through the facility's corridors, the sounds of battle growing closer. Maya's team worked with practiced efficiency, securing each intersection before moving forward. Through the windows, Aisha could see Validary dropships descending through the Mars colony's dome. "They're not just here to destroy the facility," Corell observed. "They want the research. They know what we've discovered." "Then they should have brought more ships," Maya replied, checking her weapon. "Because we're not giving it up." They reached a sealed blast door. Beyond it lay the backup lab, built into the heart of the Martian bedrock. As Aisha entered her access code, the facility shook with another explosion. "They're using sonic disruptors," Corell warned. "The structure won't hold long." "It doesn't need to." Aisha activated the prototype's control unit. "Everyone, brace yourselves." The device hummed to life, generating a quantum field that interacted with the Validary weapons in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The alien sonic disruptors weren't just blocked. Their energy was absorbed, redirected, and amplified. Through the facility's cameras, they watched as the attacking Validary recoiled in shock. Their own weapons' energy was being turned against them, creating a feedback loop that forced them to shut down or risk destruction. "How?" Corell's mandibles clicked rapidly. "The quantum harmonics should be impossible to reverse." "That's because we're not reversing them," Aisha explained, watching the data stream across her tablet. "We're adding chaos to the system. Human technology isn't as precise as Validary tech, but we're really good at controlled disorder." Maya's team had set up defensive positions around the lab. "We've got more incoming. Whatever that device is doing, they really don't like it." Aisha nodded. "The prototype is proving the theory. Validary quantum weapons rely on perfect harmony, precise frequencies that tear matter apart at the subatomic level, but introduce enough quantum noise, and the weapon becomes useless," Corell finished. "Brilliant. Crude, but brilliant." The facility shook again, but this time it was from Validary ships falling from the sky, their systems disrupted by the expanding field of quantum chaos. Emergency teams were already moving to secure crash sites and capture survivors. "Command needs to see this," Maya said, watching the display. "If we can reproduce this effect on a larger scale, we can do better than that." Aisha opened the case, revealing components that looked like a hybrid of human and validary technology. These are just the prototypes. With Carell's help, I've designed something that will change the entire war. She brought up new schematics on the display, plans for a device that could be mass-produced using existing human manufacturing capabilities. It wasn't elegant like validary technology. It wasn't precise or beautiful, but it would work. My people believe in perfection, Carell said, studying the plans. In the harmony of the universe, we never considered that imperfection could be a weapon. That's humanity's greatest strength, Aisha replied, already making adjustments to the design. We take what works and we make it work better, even if it's not pretty. We adapt. Maya's team had begun collecting validary weapons from fallen attackers, adding to their growing collection of alien tech to study. How long until we can deploy these on a large scale? Weeks, not months. Aisha's fingers flew across the keyboard. And that's not all. The quantum field generator is just the beginning. Everything we've learned about their technology, everything Carell has taught us, we're not just defending anymore. We're going to take the fight to them. She looked at the fallen validary ships outside, then at Carell, who had chosen to side with humanity after witnessing their resourcefulness firsthand. The aliens had expected to find primitive beings clinging to outdated technology. Instead, they'd found a species that turned their own advanced weapons against them. She looked at the fallen validary ships outside, then at Carell, who had chosen to side with humanity after witnessing their resourcefulness firsthand. The aliens had expected to find primitive beings clinging to outdated technology. Instead, they'd found a species that turned their own advanced weapons against them. Send word to command, Aisha said, her voice firm. Project Phoenix is ready for full implementation. It's time to show the validary that humanity doesn't just survive. We evolve. As teams of engineers and scientists flooded into the lab, ready to begin mass production, Aisha allowed herself a moment of pride. The validary had thought their quantum technology made them invincible. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology at all. It was their refusal to accept defeat. They didn't retreat. They reloaded. And now, thanks to human ingenuity and one alien's choice to help them, they had the ammunition they needed to win this war. The counter-strike. Captain Maya Rodriguez watched the validary weapons facility through Ghost Squad's cloaking field, a marvel of human engineering mixed with stolen alien tech. The massive structure floated in high orbit around a gas giant, its dark surface occasionally lit by energy discharges from weapon testing. 6 weeks ago, such a facility would have been untouchable. Now, it was a target. All teams check in, she vocalized, the quantum comm implant carrying her words to her squad. Alpha in position. Lieutenant Chen's voice was steady despite the tension. Beta ready. Sergeant Walsh sounded almost eager. Gamma locked and loaded. Corporal Santos completed the check. Maya touched the device strapped to her armor. Dr. Patel's quantum disruptor, now miniaturized and combat-ready. Every member of Ghost Squad carried one, along with weapons reverse-engineered from captured validary tech. They looked ugly, like someone had grafted alien components onto human firearms, but they worked. Remember the mission, Maya said. We're not here to destroy the facility. We need their research data on the superweapon they used at New Mars. Without it, we can't protect our remaining colonies. The plan was audacious, perhaps even insane. But that's what Ghost Squad did best. The validary never expected humans to strike at their core military facilities. They thought humanity was still hiding in their colonies, desperately trying to defend against the next attack. They were wrong. Execute, Maya ordered. Ghost Squad moved like shadows through space, their modified suits allowing them to slip through the validary sensor grid. Dr. Patel's quantum disruptors created a field of controlled chaos around them, making them virtually invisible to the aliens' advanced detection systems. They reached the facility's outer hull without incident. Chen deployed the breach charges, another hybrid of human explosives and validary quantum technology. The devices didn't explode so much as create localized tears in spacetime, opening holes in the facility's supposedly impenetrable armor. "We're in. Move fast. Stay quiet." The interior of the facility was eerily beautiful, all flowing curves and surfaces that seemed to drink in light. But Ghost Squad hadn't come to admire the architecture. They moved through the corridors with practiced precision, their hybrid weapons ready. The first Validary patrol never saw them coming. The aliens dropped silently, their neural systems overloaded by precisely calibrated quantum pulses. No alarms, no warning. "Central Research Lab is 2 levels down," Chen reported, consulting the stolen facility plans Corell had provided. "Heavy security presence." Maya nodded. "As expected." Walsh prepped the diversion. Walsh grinned behind his visor, pulling out what looked like a cluster of mechanical spiders. The devices, dubbed chaos crawlers by their engineers, were designed to wreak havoc with validary systems. Releasing swarm in 3, 2, 1. The chaos crawlers skittered away, each one carrying a miniature quantum field generator. Moments later, alarms began blaring throughout the facility as systems crashed, defense grids flickered, and gravity plating malfunctioned. "Move. We've got 5 minutes before they adapt." Ghost Squad descended through the facility like a precision strike force, their hybrid weapons cutting through validary defenses with ruthless efficiency. The aliens' superior technology meant nothing when it couldn't lock onto targets, when their own weapons refused to fire, when every system they relied on turned against them. They'd reached the central lab just as the facility's backup systems began to activate. Inside, validary scientists scrambled to protect their research, but they'd never faced anything like Ghost Squad. "Clear the room," Maya ordered. "Santos, get that data. Chen, Walsh, watch our backs." The squad moved with practiced efficiency. Santos interfaced their quantum-enhanced systems with the validary computers, while the others secured the perimeter. Maya watched the time tick down on her HUD. 3 minutes until facility systems reset. "Captain," Santos called out. "You need to see this." Maya moved to the console, her blood running cold as she saw the data streaming across the display. The Validary weren't just developing weapons, they were preparing for full-scale genocide. The attack on New Mars had been a test run. They had something much bigger planned. "Download everything," she ordered, "and plant the package." Santos nodded, uploading a virus designed by Dr. Patel and Corell. It wouldn't destroy the facility. It would do something far worse. It would introduce subtle errors into their quantum calculations, making their weapons unreliable, their ships unstable, their entire technological base suspect. 1 minute, Chen warned as weapons fire echoed from the corridor. "They're adapting to our disruptors." Maya grabbed the data core. "Fall back to extraction point." Walsh, deploy the farewell gift. As Ghost Squad retreated, Walsh released another swarm of devices, these ones carrying a specially designed quantum resonance that would permanently damage the facility's weapon development systems. The Validary would eventually repair it, but it would cost them time they couldn't afford. They fought their way back to their breach point, their hybrid weapons proving that humanity had learned well from their enemies. Every shot was calculated to create maximum chaos in Validary systems, every move designed to exploit the weaknesses in alien technology that only humans would think to target. Package delivered. Santos confirmed it as they reached their extraction point. Virus is spreading through their network. Maya allowed herself a grim smile as they prepared to withdraw. The mission wasn't just about stealing data or sabotaging one facility. It was about sending a message. The Validary thought humans were primitive, that they could only react to attacks, that they would eventually break under superior force. Instead, humanity had taken their enemies' greatest strengths and turned them into weaknesses. They'd studied, adapted, and improved upon Validary technology in ways the aliens never imagined possible. As Ghost Squad's stealth ship detached from the facility, Maya transmitted a message on all Validary frequencies, A message written in their own language by Corel. You thought we would retreat. Instead, we learned. We adapted. We reloaded. And now, we're coming for you. Behind them, the facility's systems continued to degrade, its quantum field generators spinning out of control, its weapons platforms turning unstable. But the real damage wasn't physical, it was psychological. For the first time, the Validary would know what it felt like to be hunted. The hunters had become the hunted, and humanity was just getting started. Humanity's answer. Admiral Elena Santos stood on the bridge of the TNS Defiant, watching as the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled moved into position. Every ship carried weapons and defenses born from the perfect fusion of human ingenuity and Validary technology. They weren't elegant or beautiful like their alien counterparts. They were brutal, effective tools of war. All battle groups report ready. Admiral, Commander Chen reported. The former captain of the Harbinger had earned her promotion after that first devastating encounter. Dr. Patel's quantum disruptors are operating at full capacity. Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display where hundreds of human vessels gathered around the staging point. The Validary were coming. Their largest fleet yet, determined to end the human threat once and for all. They didn't know they were flying into a trap 3 months in the making. Signal from Ghost Squad, Lieutenant Park announced. Captain Rodriguez confirms the virus is spreading through the Validary network. Their quantum field generators are compromised. And our special guest? Elena asked. Corel is standing by in engineering. He says the modifications to their targeting systems are complete. The Admiral allowed herself a small smile. The Validary defector had proven invaluable, not just for his technical knowledge, but for his insight into how his people thought. They were so convinced of their superiority that they'd never considered their greatest strength could become their greatest weakness. Multiple contacts. The sensor officer's voice cut through the bridge. Validary fleet emerging from FTL. Numbers. By the stars. Over 300 ships. The tactical display lit up with enemy contacts. A massive armada of sleek, deadly vessels that had brought death to countless human colonies. But this time would be different. All ships, Battle Formation Delta, Elena ordered. Remember your training. Remember, New Mars. Execute on my mark. The human fleet moved with precise coordination, taking positions that would have seemed random to the Validary. But every position had been calculated by Dr. Patel's team, designed to create overlapping fields of quantum disruption that would turn the aliens' own technology against them. The Validary fleet advanced, their weapons charging. They still thought they were dealing with primitive beings who'd gotten lucky with stolen technology. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Enemy weapons charging, Park reported. They're preparing to fire their main cannons. Let them, Elena said calmly. All ships, activate quantum shields. The space between the fleets lit up as hundreds of quantum disruptors activated simultaneously. The Validary weapons fired, and their energy dissipated harmlessly against the field of controlled chaos humanity had created. Return fire, all batteries. The human fleet unleashed its response. Their weapons weren't the precise, elegant beams of Validary technology. They were messy, brutal things that combined human nuclear weapons with quantum field generators, creating tears in spacetime that ripped through alien shields like paper. Direct hits across their front line. Chen reported. Their shields are failing. The Validary fleet attempted to regroup to adapt their tactics. But everywhere they turned, they found humans fighting in ways they'd never anticipated. Ghost Squad's virus spread through their network, causing weapons to misfire and navigation systems to fail. Dr. Patel's quantum disruptors created zones of impossible physics that their sensors couldn't penetrate. They're trying to concentrate their fire on the Defiant, Park warned. 5 capital ships moving into position. Elena's expression hardened. Spring the trap. All ships, execute pattern Omega. The human fleet's seemingly random positioning suddenly made sense. As the Validary capital ships moved to attack the Defiant, they found themselves caught in a crossfire of quantum-enhanced weapons. Their own technology turned against them. Their perfect harmonics transformed into instruments of their destruction. "Enemy fleet is in disarray," Chen reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from her voice. "They're losing coordination between ships." Elena keyed the fleet-wide comm. "All ships, push the advantage. Don't let them regroup. Show them what humanity does to those who threaten our existence." The battle became a slaughter. Human ships, though less advanced, proved far more adaptable. They fought with a savage creativity that the Validary couldn't match, using tactics that defied conventional space combat doctrine. When Validary ships clustered together for protection, humanity's weapons tore holes in space-time around them. When they tried to retreat, they found their FTL drives wouldn't engage. When they attempted to call for reinforcements, they found their quantum communications had been turned into weapons against their own systems. "Enemy fleet breaking up," Park announced. Multiple ships attempting emergency FTL jumps, most of them failing. Others are powering down weapons and dropping shields. "They're surrendering," Chen said in disbelief. Elena stood, her voice carrying across the bridge. "Signal all ships. Accept their surrender, but maintain battle positions. And broadcast this message on all Validary frequencies." She spoke the words Corell had taught her, in the formal language of Validary military surrender. "You came to exterminate what you thought were primitives. Instead, you found humanity. Remember this day. Remember what happened when you pushed us too far. Remember that humans don't retreat. We reload." The bridge erupted in cheers as the remaining Validary ships powered down their weapons. But Elena's expression remained serious. This victory hadn't come cheap. Too many colonies had been lost, too many lives sacrificed before humanity found its answer to the Validary threat. But they had found it. They'd taken their enemy's greatest strength and turned it into a weakness. They'd proven that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or firepower. It was their relentless drive to survive, to adapt, to overcome. As recovery ships moved to secure the surrendered Validary vessels, Elena thought about how this war had started. The aliens had seen humans as primitives playing with technology they didn't understand. They'd never considered that humanity's primitive approach, their willingness to experiment, to jury-rig solutions, to throw out the rulebook when necessary, would be their salvation. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "The Validary fleet is defeated, but keep our forces ready." She looked at the tactical display, where the scattered remnants of the alien armada floated powerless in space. "They'll be back. They always come back. And when they do, we'll be ready," Chen finished. "Because humans don't retreat." Elena nodded. "We reload. And now we have plenty of ammunition." The war wasn't over. Humanity had learned that lesson well. But they'd proven something crucial. No matter how advanced the enemy, no matter how overwhelming the odds, humanity would find a way to fight back. They would adapt, improvise, and overcome. They would reload.